On August the 24th of 2024, law enforcement in Tyrone, Georgia, pulled over 25-year-old Kania Willis for using a cell phone while behind the wheel of her Nissan Altima. Kania's mother, Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis, was best known for being the leading prosecutor behind former President Donald Trump's 2020 Georgia election interference case. Trump was indicted along with 18 others, but the highly mediatized legal proceedings were placed on hold in May of 2024 as the state's Court of Appeals agreed to revisit whether Willis would remain on the case. The defendants had accused her of prosecutorial misconduct over her workplace romance with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. Willis's office also handled the racketeering case of rapper Young Thug, indicting him on 56 counts of gang-related activities. During the August 2024 traffic stop, it emerged that Willis's daughter was driving without her valid license. Kania, who was pregnant at the time, initially told law enforcement that she had used her phone due to her mother calling her related to her pregnancy. She had been banned from driving since May of that year, but the 25-year-old also claimed that she had no idea her license had been revoked. Kania was booked at the Fayette County Jail and faced a minimum of 2 days in jail, a $500 fine, and a 6-month extension of the driving suspension. Her mother didn't immediately comment on the situation. Number 6. Jayson Scott. In June of 2024, Jayson Scott, the son of 4-time Grammy-nominated rapper Remy Ma, was arrested by the NYPD. 23-year-old Scott and Richard Swigert, aged 22, were charged in connection to the murder of Darius Guillebeau in June of 2021. Following the breakout of an argument, Guillebeau was shot multiple times in the head and chest on June the 7th. He was subsequently rushed to the Jamaica Hospital Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead. His connection to Scott and Swigert was unclear, but he had previously been indicted by the New York Attorney General as part of a large-scale investigation dubbed Operation Heatwave. It resulted in 54 arrests for drug trafficking in upstate New York. In addition to first-degree murder, Scott was charged with second-degree murder, reckless endangerment, and criminal possession of a weapon. Remy Ma, who twice received the BET Award for Best Female Hip-Hop Artist, spoke to TMZ in the wake of her son's arrest. The rapper had over 10 million followers on Instagram alone, and she thanked her fans for their support but asked for privacy as her legal team worked towards proving her son's innocence. Number 5. Paris St. John. On the evening of April the 10th of 2023, Paris St. John was booked at the Ada County Jail in Idaho on misdemeanor charges of indecent exposure, escape, and resisting arrest. The police were called to a supermarket in Boise after 30-year-old Paris had gotten naked and started meditating inside. By the time that officers arrived at the scene, a clerk had convinced her to put her clothes back on. As she was being processed at the jail, the woman escaped the sally port when the door was opened to grant an officer access. Law enforcement told Paris to stop, but she ignored them, resulting in her being chased down and brought to the ground. The woman was the daughter of professional boxer Mia St. John and Christophe St. John, best known for playing Neil Winters on the CBS soap opera The Young and the Restless. Christophe died from heart disease in February of 2019 at the age of 52. According to the Los Angeles Coroner's Office, his underlying heart complications had been triggered by an alcohol binge. The 9-time Daytime Emmy Award nominee died without leaving a will, and a little over a month later, Paris made the news after she petitioned an LA court to control his estate. Number 4. Riley Dowell. On January the 21st of 2023, Riley Dowell, the daughter of a high-ranking U.S. politician, came into the attention of law enforcement during an anti-cop protest in Boston. 23-year-old Riley Dowell, who was born male but transitioned to female, was spotted spraying anti-cop slogans on a monument in the historic Boston Common. The messages included the acronym ACAB, short for All Cops Are Bastards and No Cop City, among others. As officers moved to take Dowell into custody, a group of about 20 protesters were reported to have surrounded them and attempted to hinder the arrest. Dowell tried to flee and flailed her arms, striking Officer Daniel Roca in the face and leaving him with a bloody nose. She was eventually subdued and arrested. The young protester was charged with assault and battery on a police officer, resisting arrest, vandalizing property, tagging property, and vandalizing a historic marker or monument. Dowell's mother, Catherine Clark, was the U.S. representative for Massachusetts' 5th Congressional District and the House Minority Whip. In the latter capacity, she was directly involved in her party's legislative program on the House floor. Upon learning of her daughter's arrest, Clark wrote on social media, "I love Riley, and this is a very difficult time in the cycle of joy and pain in parenting. This will be evaluated by the legal system, and I am confident in that process." In the spring of 2023, Dowell reached a deal with prosecutors that would see her case dismissed, provided she wrote a letter of apology to Officer Roca, completed 30 days of community service, and repaid the city for the cost of removing the messages she'd spray painted. Dowell was also ordered to continue undergoing therapy, keep a distance from the site of the anti-police protest, and complete a community-based program. Number 3. Marco Javier Pierre White Jr. In the early hours of May the 23rd of 2023, a masked man used a champagne bottle to smash a window pane on the front door of the Abbey Deli in Bath, Somerset, England. He made his way inside and used a spoon to force the cash register open. Even though the keys to it were in plain sight, he grabbed cash from the drawer and also took the cafe's charity box, making off with roughly £250. As he crawled his way through the shattered window pane, the burglar's pants got caught on the frame. The man thus exposed his bare backside to the surveillance cameras. Also visible were the tattoos on his back, and the police easily identified him as the son of celebrity chef Marco Pierre White. John Eisen, the cafe's owner, reported that Marco Javier Pierre White Jr. had also broken into the establishment a year prior and stole about £650. Eisen told the media, "He's been hanging out with the wrong crowd for years, and we know he's got a drug problem." For the latest incident, Javier pleaded guilty to burglary and other offenses. In June of 2024, he was jailed for 41 weeks. The 29-year-old, who'd appeared on the reality show Big Brother in 2019, had an extensive criminal record and had been abusing drugs since his early teens. In 2022, he was sentenced to 18 months behind bars after admitting offenses that included possessing a knife, possessing heroin, a racially aggravated public order offense, and a shoplifting charge. His father, Pierre White Sr., was the youngest chef to attain 3 Michelin stars, starred on the reality show Hell's Kitchen, and was generally regarded as a major influence on other leading British chefs. He opted not to visit his son in prison, claiming he was too recognizable, and also blamed the authorities for not tackling Javier's criminal behavior sooner. Following his release, Javier told a media outlet that he was reformed and vowed to never touch drugs again. He'd reportedly been to rehab 17 times in the past in the US and the UK, with the stints costing his father over £1 million. Javier claimed that the incarceration had changed him, stating, "I could have done anything I wanted to, but instead I did heroin and ended up in prison. I have been an idiot." He said that it was difficult having a famous father while behind bars, and that he'd lost 6 teeth getting into fights with inmates who tried to extort him or simply wanted a story by attacking him. In spite of pledging to stay out of trouble, Javier carried out the cafe burglary a few months after his release. Today's topic was requested by Sean Delap 8587 and Nikki123BXD. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Marius Borg Hiby. In the summer of 2024, Marius Borg Hiby, the son of Crown Princess Mette-Marit of Norway, was arrested following a brutal attack on his girlfriend, Rebecca Helberg Arntzen. It occurred at an Oslo apartment, and Hiby was apprehended on August the 4th. Norwegian tabloid VG published recordings that reportedly came from phone conversations between him and Arntzen. In the exchange, the former defended the beating as a flat-handed little pat on the back. Arntzen, however, replied that he'd struck her 100 times and also recounted multiple instances of him strangling her until she couldn't breathe. The young woman was hospitalized for her injuries during the phone conversation. Hiby also threatened to burn all of Arnsten's things if she didn't come collect them from Skogum Kaslem, where she'd been living with him and his family at various points in the year. About a week after his arrest, Hiby released a statement admitting to the attack. He said, "I committed bodily harm and destroyed objects in an apartment in the intoxication of alcohol and cocaine after an argument." The 27-year-old reported that he suffered from multiple mental disorders before apologizing to his girlfriend, stating that his mental health and addiction didn't excuse his behavior. Hiby was the stepson of Prince Haakon, the heir apparent to the Norwegian throne, and he was generally regarded as the black sheep of the royal family. As news of the attack spread, 3 of Hiby's former partners came forward accusing him of psychological and physical violence. One of them wasn't named, but the others were identified as model Julianne Snekkestad and Norway's Love Island winner Nora Hawkland. The former had dated Hiby over a 4-year period, and after revealing the abuse on Instagram, concluded, "I'm not sharing this because I want pity or to put the focus on me. This has happened before, and this must be stopped now." On September the 7th of 2024, a little over a month since his arrest, Hiby was once again taken into custody on suspicion of breaching a restraining order by contacting Arnston via a hidden phone number. Hiby vehemently denied the claim, and his case was ongoing as of the latest updates. If these offspring couldn't get awful enough, then find out how bad the parents can get after number 1. Because we've got our previous release of When Bad Parenting Goes Wrong lined up for you next. Number 1. Sam Haskell IV. 35-year-old Sam Haskell IV was taken into custody in November of 2023 for the brutal murder and dismemberment of his wife and her parents. The arrest came after the headless torso of 37-year-old Mai Lee Haskell was found in a dumpster near her husband's office in Encino, Los Angeles. Her mother and father, Yang Xiang Wang and Gao Shan Li, were presumed dead, but their bodies weren't found. Mai traveled to the US from China and met her future husband while they were both students at Cal State Northridge. Wang and Li emigrated from China and moved into the couple's $2.5 million Tarzana home to help care for their 3 boys. Haskell was the son of Sam Haskell III and former Miss Mississippi Mary Donnelly. His father served as head of television for the talent agency William Morris Endeavor and represented clients that included Dolly Parton, Whoopi Goldberg, and George Clooney. The younger Haskell described himself a director of music videos and fashion editorials, but Mai's uncle reported that she was the main breadwinner in the household. Haskell was believed to have been exclusively supported by his family's wealth. Mai and her parents were last seen on November the 6th of 2023. The following day, Haskell hired several day laborers to dispose of 4 large trash bags, telling them they were filled with rocks. The men, however, noticed that the contents of the bags were soft and soggy. Upon looking inside, one of the men saw body parts and a human belly button. The laborers returned the bags and the money to Haskell, who changed his story to say the contents were Halloween props. The men tried alerting the LAPD, but because they only spoke Spanish, they were transferred between the California Highway Patrol and an LA police station before being told to simply call a 911 line. By the time that the police arrived at Haskell's home, the bags were gone, but he was subsequently caught on security footage dumping one of them from his Tesla. According to the DA's office, officers who searched the family home discovered blood and other evidence consistent with death and dismemberment. A possible motive for the murders wasn't revealed, but Haskell was known to collect weapons such as samurai swords and crossbows. During a court appearance, he was seen bare-chested, revealing his heavily tattooed torso after his prison overalls had slipped to his waist. Haskell's lawyer described his client's look as dehumanizing and objected to him being photographed. As of the latest information available on the case, Haskell pleaded not guilty to the 3 murders, and his trial was expected to commence in 2025. On November the 30th of 2018, Valen Hardison had a package delivered to her residence in Bel Air, Maryland. The box, which reportedly contained a new pair of boots, disappeared, and the woman consequently checked the surveillance camera aimed at the front porch of her home. Footage showed a girl running to her door. She briefly stopped and motioned to the street before she picked up the package and left with it. Hardison sent the images to the police, who suspected that the child had been directed by an adult to take the box. Following an investigation, officers identified 46-year-old Gary Martin and issued an arrest warrant. in his name for instructing his young daughter to steal. The man was detained and charged with theft under $100, conspiracy to commit theft, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, and fourth-degree burglary. Number 9. Irisdaly Rios. 35-year-old Irisdaly Rios accompanied her young daughter to Hialeah Middle School in Florida on March the 4th of 2014. The woman wanted to confront another student, Ashley Perez, for allegedly bullying her child. Rios left her daughter in the car and approached Perez. Several students gathered around them as she started yelling at the girl. Bystanders began recording the confrontation, which escalated to Rios swinging at Perez and striking her with her fists. An unidentified woman managed to break up the fight temporarily before Rios charged the student once again and punched her in the mouth. When the two were separated once more, Perez managed to call the police. Rios was arrested and charged with simple battery. The student was left with multiple scratches and a broken tooth following the beating. Perez admitted to having disagreements with the woman's daughter, but claimed that she'd walked up to Rios's car thinking that they would talk things out when she was attacked. 8th grader Damian Portal captured the brawl on his cell phone, and his mother later chose to upload the footage to social media. She motivated the decision, saying that everyone has to know what's happening in school. Number 8. Karina Deandrea. On January the 28th of 2020 at around 2:45 p.m., law enforcement was called to a home in Pinson, Alabama, after a 49-year-old woman had attacked her teenage daughter following an argument over money. Karina Deandrea was reportedly enraged as she suspected that her 18-year-old daughter had taken money from her. She slashed the teen with a machete, nearly severing her hand, while also inflicting severe injuries to her arms and skull. The victim was taken to the University of Alabama at Birmingham Hospital's trauma center in critical condition, but she was expected to recover from the machete attack. Deandrea was booked at the Jefferson County Jail on a $90,000 bond and charged with first-degree domestic violence and attempted murder. A grand jury indicted her on the charges in February. Number 7. Ashley Ruffin. On September the 7th of 2021, police were called to the Indian Trails Middle School in Palm Coast, Florida, after a fight had occurred on the school's premises. Students who'd witnessed the brawl told responding officers that they'd seen 30-year-old Ashley Ruffin, the mother of one of the boys involved in the fight, helping her son beat up another child. They claimed Ruffin held the boy back so that her son and his friend could hit him. Ruffin was arrested and charged with felony abuse and with battery. She was accused of grabbing the victim by his hair and arm, as well as of flashing a taser during the fight. After she was released, the woman posted a 15-minute video on social media tearfully telling her side of the story and claiming the other boy had attacked her son and that she was only trying to break up the fight, as she would never hurt a child. The school eventually decided that the altercation was mutual and suspended both boys. The felony charge against Ruffin was eventually dropped, and instead she was left with a misdemeanor battery charge, which was eventually dismissed as well in February of 2022. In December of that year, however, Ruffin was arrested on a first-degree felony charge of selling cocaine within 1,000 feet of a child care center. She faced a maximum sentence of 30 years in prison. Number 6. Mary Alice Hernandez. On October the 16th of 2017, students at Miller High School in Corpus Christi, Texas, witnessed a schoolmate getting savagely assaulted by 34-year-old Mary Alice Hernandez. The circumstances surrounding the incident were centered on Hernandez's daughter challenging the other teen to a fight over an unspecified rumor going around the school. The girl's mother accompanied her and only intervened after her daughter had ended up losing the fight. A video, which went viral in the aftermath, would show Hernandez relentlessly punching the teenager while firmly holding her by the hair. She continued delivering strikes even after the victim had dropped to the pavement. The victim's mother, Julie Pignon, wrote about the incident in a Facebook post the following day. She said that her daughter didn't want to fight Hernandez partly out of respect, but also because the woman had brought an entourage with her that could have intervened and hurt her even worse. Hernandez was shown on video running away from the scene, but she was subsequently arrested on a warrant for assault, causing bodily injury. Number 5. Carla Wilds. In February of 2017, an English teenager, identified in the media as Olivia, got into a fight with another girl at school. She then complained about the incident to her stepmother, 36-year-old Carla Wilds, who nicknamed herself the Iron Lady on social media. Wilds, a resident of Stockport in Greater Manchester, then got into her car along with Olivia and drove around until they spotted the teenager who had assaulted her. Wilds stopped the car and ambushed the girl on the street, grabbing her by the hair and asking if she had been hitting her daughter. Wilds then began kicking and punching her in the face and about the body. Olivia soon joined in the attack and started throwing kicks to her classmate's face and back. Her stepmother then threatened the victim to slit her and her mother's throats if she would touch Olivia again. The mother-daughter duo then abandoned her on the ground, got back into the car and fled. The victim was left with a broken nose, a cut to her upper lip and multiple bruises. In January of 2021, Wilds was convicted of assault, occasioning actual bodily harm and making threats to kill, and was sentenced to 2 years in jail, suspended for 2 years. Her stepdaughter was given a 9-month youth rehabilitation order and was ordered to pay the victim £250 compensation after being convicted of assault. Number 4. Ernstlatta LaFrance. On March the 27th of 2017, Ernstlatta LaFrance went to Carroll City Senior High School in Florida after she learned that her teenage daughter had been in an altercation with a group of students at a fair. Upon arrival, LaFrance met the sister of one of the teens with whom her daughter had fought and confronted her in the parking lot. The woman allegedly punched the student repeatedly in the face, causing her to drop her iPhone 6. 30-year-old LaFrance grabbed the device and drove away. The victim later went to the woman's Opa Loca home along with a group of friends in an attempt to retrieve her phone. LaFrance hit her again with a stick, breaking her finger, before attacking her car with an axe. The woman's girlfriend, 28-year-old Elisa Evans, exited the home holding a gun, then fired it in the air 3 times. LaFrance later talked about the confrontation on her social media account, warning other students to leave her daughter alone. She was also reported to have bragged about hurting the teen, saying that 2 black eyes was not the end of it and that she would use a gun next time. Following the incident, the woman refused to open her door to a detective when they came to inquire about the fight. She surrendered to law enforcement the following day and faced charges that included strong-armed robbery, child abuse and aggravated battery. Evans was arrested as well and charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and firing a gun into the air. In court, LaFrance claimed self-defense, telling the judge she'd had no intention of attacking anyone when she went to the high school parking lot. The woman claimed that she'd been ambushed and consequently acted to protect herself and her daughter. Number 3. Janette Woods. On Thanksgiving 2015, Janette Woods found her teenage daughter sleeping next to a boy after they'd reportedly had intimate relations in the girl's bed at Woods' home in Mesa, Arizona. The 36-year-old woman straddled the teenager on the bed and he awoke to her punching him in the face. The boy managed to break free and escape with only his jeans, leaving his things behind. As Woods chased him out of the house and followed him down the street, the woman continued punching him and only stopped when he began throwing up. After the boy left, Woods grabbed a baseball bat and struck his car, which had been parked outside her house. She was reported to have inflicted about $5,300 worth of damage. She then took the car keys from her daughter's room and moved the vehicle down the street. Woods was arrested on December the 11th. She claimed that she didn't know the boy before finding him in her home and told officers that he looked like an older man as he lay in bed next to her daughter. Woods was already a convicted felon, and for the latest incident, she was charged with the felony of criminal damage, car theft, and an assault misdemeanor. Number 2. Gary Johnson Jr. 35-year-old Florida man Gary Johnson Jr. offered to monitor a fight between his teenage son and another boy in the backyard of his home in Palm Bay in August of 2011. The man agreed to act as a referee in order to make sure the fight would be fair. 35-year-old Johnson became enraged upon seeing his son lose the fight by giving up and began arguing with his teenage rival. In a clip that subsequently went viral, the boy shoved Johnson. Moments later, the latter took him down and began punching him in the head. Johnson kept striking the teenager until he was pulled away by his son. The incident was filmed by onlookers who stood by as the fight unfolded and didn't intervene. In the aftermath, the teen would remember falling to the ground but stated that he blacked out during the beating. He described the injuries he'd sustained for a media outlet and said, "I had a split eyebrow and my teeth were pushed back." Johnson was arrested on multiple charges. He was released from jail on a $15,000 bond until his trial. In March of 2012, he was found guilty of battery, child abuse, contributing to the delinquency of a minor and disorderly conduct. He received a sentence of nearly 4 years behind bars. Number 1. Candie Walker. Hannah Fine, her boyfriend Deshaun Donson, and Eric Mora drove to a home in Peppertree Court, Georgia on October the 18th of 2018. The teenage trio were looking for Jessica Klein, who was the girlfriend of Mark Walker, the estranged husband of Fine's mother. Once they reached their destination, Fine left the other 2 teens in the car and went out with a machete. Just as Klein was leaving her home, the teen used the bladed weapon to attack the woman and her pre-teen daughter when she intervened. After the assault, the teenager ran back to the car and drove off with her friends, leaving her victims bloodied. Both suffered grievous injuries but survived, and Klein was able to identify Fine as her attacker. Police arrested the teen, and she told investigators that her mother, Candie Walker, had been pressuring her to commit the crime. The woman and her husband had been having marriage troubles for years, and multiple family members testified that Walker harbored a great deal of animosity towards Klein. Fine also talked about her mother's previous efforts to solicit another one of her friends to kill the woman. The person in question, Brandon Manley, was asked to purchase a gun, and Walker bought bullets to be used in the hit. Manley ultimately backed away from the plan and was consequently cut off from contacting Fine or visiting her home. Fine claimed that Walker had been planning to kill Klein since August or September, and that she'd given her the deadline of October the 18th. Fine didn't have a gun, and Donson suggested using a machete, which was provided by Mora. By January of 2020, the legal proceedings on the matter were finalized. Walker was sentenced to 55 years on 1 count of principal to first-degree premeditated or felony murder with a weapon, and solicitation to commit first-degree premeditated felony murder with a weapon. Fine received a sentence of 15.5 years in state prison, while her boyfriend, Donson, was sentenced as a youthful offender to 40 months of probation with the condition of serving 15 months in state prison for 1 count of accessory. Mora entered a plea deal and admitted 1 count of principal to aggravated battery and was sentenced as an adult to a year and a day in state prison, followed by 2 years of community control and 1 year of probation. Thanks for watching. If you could trade bodies with a famous influencer for a day, who would you choose and why? Let us know in the comments section below.